People are fed up with all these promises. I was too. At the end of the day, especially for Black people, you find out that there are chemicals which are causing
Yeah.
cancer in the products. The time has come for us to start creating businesses which cater for
Yeah.
us. We glorify entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's nothing to glorify. It is tough.
Hey there, risers and thrivers. Have you ever wanted to start your own hair care brand, but thought, how do I even get started? Well, this episode is for you. Welcome to On the Up and Up, the podcast encouraging critical conversations, amplifying the untold stories and achievements of the underrepresented and underestimated, and inspiring visionaries like yourselves to pursue their dreams. And on this episode, I'm joined by Hloni Romdhani, who is a lawyer turned entrepreneur thanks to her hair care brand, Zamata Cosmetics, which is aimed at providing clean, organic hair care products for Afro hair. Now, before I jump into this episode, it would mean the world to me if you would like, follow, and subscribe to On the Up and Up on your favorite podcast streaming and social media channels. Also, if there's anyone that you know who would benefit from this conversation, please share this episode with them, because this conversation offers valuable insights on the early days of starting a hair care brand, such as, for example, how do you find a reliable manufacturer? So my recommendation, grab a notebook and listen well. And with that being said, let's jump into the episode. Welcome back to the podcast. And actually, this is a welcome back because we tried to record once before, and unfortunately, as technology does its thing, I had issues with the tech. So I'm really grateful that you're back, and I'm excited for this conversation. But before we get started, I wanted to ask you, what are 3 words to describe your experience building Zamata over the last couple of months?
Wow. In 3 words, I can say exciting, challenging, I'd say tough as well. You have all this roller coaster kind of feelings when you're running a business. And yeah, in the last couple of months, it has been a journey, very nice on the other hand, and painful experience sometimes. I think all startups can also relate, but I still feel very optimistic regardless. So I think that's the most important part
I
of
was
it.
gonna say, you say that with a huge smile on your face.
I do. Maybe I enjoy pain. I don't know, but I think my mission is stronger than my challenges, I would
Yeah.
say, because I can see the products are working, people are loving them, and I see the transformation, especially on my son's hair, because I can see it, and also on my hair. It's just exciting. I'm just excited about what I have created.
Yeah.
So
The point that you've just said, that your mission is so much stronger than the pain that you feel, which is why it keeps driving you. It's funny because right before we had this conversation, I was editing another podcast episode. And in that conversation, we talked about it where she said she was building something previously that just didn't really resonate with her that much. And so she
mhm,
was
mhm.
dealing with the challenges, and eventually she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. But then she started this new business where the mission and the problem she was solving resonated so much that she feels like she has to solve it. And because of that, whatever challenges and pain, and trust me, she has gone through it, the pain she has gone through to build this thing, it just kept her going. And so wanted to ask you, with Zamata Cosmetics, what is the mission? What is that pain that you're trying to solve for people?
My mission is to put products on the market which are clean and which don't harm people's health. I think that's the most important thing. I also have a medical background. So I understand how many pollutants we are faced with. Like we go outside and we have so many chemicals in the atmosphere, but majority of those we can't do anything about that. And I just wanted to take one part whereby we could have a bit of influence. And especially that part is the part which is very personal, especially to Black women or Black people, and that is our hair. And with that, unfortunately, that's where we have discovered that there's so many chemicals which have been proven to cause
Yeah.
cancers. And the issue is also very personal to me because my mom has
Wow.
alopecia from the relaxers. She has patches of hair on her head. And I think about that. I'm like, it shouldn't be
Yeah.
happening. It cannot be allowed that there are products which are being put on the
Mm-hmm.
market that are targeted to a certain demographic, but they cause so much damage to people's health. And as I said in my previous interview, I also had problems with my scalp. I had very itchy scalp and I had dandruff. So I was also afraid that my son would end up having the same experience. So I just decided through his
Yeah.
questions, I decided to create Zamata Cosmetics. This is why I think my mission is still strong and I see the effects. I can't remember the last time I saw dandruff on my head. This is miraculous for
Mm-hmm.
me. I mean, for some people it might not be, but for me, this is a huge relief and realizing that it's just by using different hair care
Yeah.
products. I didn't go to the doctor, I didn't take any medication. I just started using my products starting from when I was testing them until now. And this is why I'm so excited, is because I don't have this problem anymore of dandruff, of itchy scalp. So I believe with my products, I will at least help so many people to relieve whatever problems they have on their hair.
Yeah. And that's the thing that you've touched on as Black women. It's such a big topic, and it's extremely prevalent for us because it's two-faced or two-sided in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
On one hand, it's the Eurocentric standard of beauty that has caused us to
Mm-hmm.
look for products and solutions that would straighten our hair. Like you said, the relaxer that your mother used. Even I had an episode with Cosima Richardson and I said to her I went back to the creamy craft relaxer because
Mm-hmm.
I was having a hard time maintaining and doing my hair by myself, and I didn't grow up with the tools or the skills to really know how to do my own hair. So
Mm-hmm.
once my natural hair was growing out, I was like, there's always knots and I don't know what to do. And then I went back to it and I ended up with scabs all over my head from the burns and was like, what in the world? All because trying to follow a certain standard of beauty and not having the right
Mm-hmm.
skills. And then on the other side of that coin, the other problem is the chemicals and the ingredients that are in these products. It's scary actually, and that's why we see such an increase of certain health issues amongst Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's hard to say that it's caused, but there's definitely a correlation between that.
Yeah.
So I think it's beautiful that you are on that mission, and it makes me happy to see that. I know, like, I've used your products and I was like, wow, my head feels really clean. And I too, like you, have issues with constantly having an itchy scalp, or my hair, like
Yeah.
my hair is the most finicky thing to products. Like I still am not sure. So it's really beautiful that that's what you're working on. And what I wanted to ask is, along the lines of even you as a your personal experience with
Mm-hmm.
hair, how is that, and how does that translate into now how you're building the brand and the emphasis you put behind it and the channels that you go out to trying to sell this to people?
I think I didn't realize it until when I started my business. I think I have inner rebellion. I've had it for a long
Okay.
time. I wasn't aware of it because when I was at university, when I studied physiotherapy before, and then I went back and studied law as a postgraduate. And I think that's when this rebellion started
Mm.
because I was just sick and tired of this beauty standards. So almost the entire studies, I shaved my
Oh
hair.
wow.
I
That's
had
bold.
no hair.
That's bold. As
That's
I
really
remember when
bold.
I
That's
cut
what
my hair
every
off and I came home and everyone was like, "What did you do? Why did you do that? You had such nice long hair." You know, nice long hair
yeah.
is such a pushed
Yeah.
on us a lot of the times. Yeah, says with
No,
yeah.
no, no. I didn't have
Yeah.
any hair. I shaved it off. And that's funny enough, that's when I met my husband
Okay.
now. He didn't know me without hair, so
Yeah.
so but looking back, that's when this inner rebellion of the beauty standards started. And then I think after this with my
Mm-hmm.
mom, that's it put everything together. And I came to Germany and I couldn't find the right products. I mean, you go to DM to buy other personal care products, and there wasn't. any product when I first moved here for black hair. So what do? You go to the Afro shop, you get that thing which you don't want, the relaxer, because there's nothing else. I think I let my hair grow when I moved back, and I think I relaxed my hair once when I came back, and then I was like, no, I'm not doing it. But I still use the conventional shampoos and everything else. So this is why I really struggled with the scalp until it clicked that, because I had spoken to a hair care dresser here in Germany, and I was asking her, what can I do against dandruff? And she was like, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just how it is. And I'm like,
Can't be.
hmm, no, it can be. No, it cannot be. So another friend of mine, she's also a hairdresser. She was like, oh no, just try and minimize the amount of, and look at what is in the ingredients and use, try moringa oil. So I was like, okay, what is that? She's like, no, it's really good. It's one of the superfood. So that's how this journey really started, because I felt for the first time a difference on my scalp. I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So I started using code check to check the ingredients on my hair care products. And I switched slowly but surely to organic products, but they still weren't very good for my hair because they still had sulfates in them. So I had an idea now how am I going to move forward. So that's how my journey actually started. I think you asked me how everything came
Yeah.
about. And now the products I'm created with a manufacturer here in Germany. It was also a long process to find
Yeah.
one who would cater to my high demands, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that's the question I have because I meet a lot of women who aspire to have their own hair care, own beauty brand. And I know for
Yeah,
myself, I was telling you back in 2020, I
yeah,
was trying to start my own, and it was extremely daunting. I was like, how do I find someone to manufacture this for me? Where do I get the money to get them to manufacture this for me? All of those things
yeah.
were just a lot. So, would you mind breaking down the moment you had that spark that you wanted to create Zamata Cosmetics and then the process of actually getting that first product on the market? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean that process wasn't sort of like a textbook kind of process. So what we did, first of all, after my son, I always tell the story, asked me why I can't create my own products. I was like, so how do I do that? So the first step was Google. How do you create your own products? It showed me only how to create things in the kitchen, flaxseed, and all those. I was like, no, not that. I think we didn't have ChatGPT
Yeah.
then. Not that, but creating hair care products for a company. Then we found out, okay, you need a Lohnhersteller. That's what they call them here in Germany. So my husband and we started researching Lohnhersteller in Germany, had a list. So basically I started making phone calls and asking, questioning. And most of them, every time I mentioned Afro hair, they're like, oh no, we don't do that here. Sorry. Because the majority of them, this is what I didn't know, they already have their own finished formulas.
Gotcha. Okay.
So what they do is, if you're a company who would like to have, if you'd like to have your own brand, you can just take what they have on the shelf and just put your label. It's called white
Yeah.
labeling. It's fast, it's easy.
I always found that interesting
No,
as a concept for as a consumer because it makes me side eye a
yeah,
lot of products. Like, is this really worth €7 or could I just buy the thing that's supposed to be similar for three? Like, it always makes me wonder now.
yeah. For
Yeah.
certain products, you should be questioning that, because at the end you're probably just paying for the brand, but it's exactly the same product. So I couldn't do that because our hair needs special care. So I was telling them, okay, I need to develop products specifically for Afro hair and curls. So that was a challenge. And I remember going to one of the conventions, the beauty conventions, and I saw another stand. They still do, sorry, they still sell organic hair care products, but they weren't for Afro hair. And then somewhere on the card, I saw Lohnhersteller. And I was like, do you also do that? They were like, oh yeah, of course we do that. They 70% is for their own brands, their own business, but 30% of their business is only dealing with people who would like to create their own products. So those are the ones I went with. It's a small company, the family owned company. They've been in the business for over 20 years. So they are also certified. And so that's how I found them.
And
Yeah.
would you say there's anything that, like, if I say, hey, I want to start this process and I go to a Lohnhersteller, is there anything that you're saying, okay, keep an eye out for these two, three things when you're in conversation with them? Do you have any tips like that?
I think it depends on what you want. I think it depends on what you're looking at. Are you looking at just having a standard, a wide labeling kind of product? There, I can't help you. But when you're developing something from scratch, you have to stick to what you want. You know what I mean? Don't, of course, you have to let yourself be guided by them as well because they've been in the business, especially when you're not a chemist. But you should know exactly what your standards are. Do I want everything to be organic? I want to make sure that everything has to be certified. And all the requirements, you should have them in advance before you start with them. Because the advantage that I had was that their business is already certified, so they knew already what to look out for. So they could guide me as well when I said, no, no, I want this, I want that. No, but if you want that kind of packaging, you won't get the certification. Those kind of thing. If you want to use this ingredient instead of that, be careful. It might not come out of the bottle which you want to use. So you have to be aware of all the small points, even whether you want an etiquette around it. Because at first I thought, okay, no, I don't want any etiquette on my bottles. They have to be printed. And the lady was like, please be careful. You're starting out. If there is one mistake, even a spelling mistake on the bottle, you're gonna have to get rid of all those bottles. Or if the shampoo is running and the conditioner is not running, you've run out of shampoo, you need something developed, you're going to have to order new bottles. But if you have one standard bottle with different etiquettes, it's easier. You just buy an etiquette, you're using the same bottles. I mean, there's so many things which I think as a startup, you're not aware of, especially when it's your first time doing such a thing. So I'm really grateful that I had a partner who was also willing to guide me. Like the lady who was always my consultant, she was saying, no, no, be careful. If you want to do that, then you have to change your packaging. Because she also had an eye on what is good for the customer. Because she said there's so many products, you buy them, I think you've seen them, you try and push the conditioner or the shampoo out, it doesn't come out.
I've actually
Or
stopped
even
using
if
very good products because I couldn't stand the bottle that they were in. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you have to, as a business, you have to think what is best for the customer. So they also helped me with that and said, no, make sure the consistency is good enough that the customer gets even the last drop of what they paid for. Because it's unfortunate that you find so many products, they may be good, but they're in the wrong packaging. And you have to always really fight hard to push the conditioner out of the bottle. So there's so many things which you have to be aware of. So I think the best thing is try and find the right partner. I think that you will never know who is right or wrong from the beginning, but I think just be honest with the people. Tell them you're doing this for the first time and see how they react. Do they have time to teach you certain things? And I think your gut feeling will also tell you, these people are not taking me
Yeah.
seriously, or these people think I'm just a startup. But the ones I was dealing with, they're really I felt like I'm part of their family at the end of the day. So I think it was really by luck.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say what it sounds like is you truly found a partner in this process, which
Yeah.
seems to have made the world of difference because they know the ins and outs. you have a
Yeah.
vision for something, and at least they're able to give you the know-how, which was a big part of the question that I was part of the questions I wanted to ask you, because you have a
Hmm.
past as a lawyer, you don't have a past as a chemist, you don't have a past as an
No.
entrepreneur or business owner. This is the first time you're doing this. So how, like, what resources do you go to? What were the most valuable resources for you in these early stages of getting started? Hey, it's me popping in quickly to ask, what do you think of the episode so far? Feel free to share your thoughts by leaving a comment or review. Also, it would mean the world to me if you would follow, like, and subscribe to On the Up and Up. This simple act helps us to grow. Thank you in advance, and back to the episode.
I think it's just about, because now I know I'm in a business where I'm really new.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the marketing and the sales, everything is
Yeah.
new. But I always, first of all, listen to my gut
Mm-hmm.
feeling when I deal with people. I mean, I've spoken to so many people. You will know if somebody you feel is not taking you seriously right from the beginning. When you feel, you will always feel, I don't think this is right. So trust that
Mm-hmm.
feeling. And that's how I start. As far as talking and negotiating and strategizing, I think that's my legal background has helped me with that. So I'm able to analyze, does this person know what he's talking about? Or he's just like me. I don't need that. I need somebody who knows more than I
Yeah.
do. So that's how I dealt with a lot of people. I think it looking back, my educational background also helped.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even though I'm not a chemist, I studied a physiotherapy. And of course, you have chemistry for you to be able to study that. And all this knowledge which I have was able to help me to ask the right
Mm-hmm.
questions and make the right decisions as to a partner, or when they're talking about the ingredients, I'm able to research those and see the effects and everything for the medical point of
Yeah.
view. And when it comes to business, the legal background really helped me a
I'm
lot.
sure.
It helped me also to know, okay, especially when you're building your website, what to look out for. And the advantage is you also have friends who are lawyers who just say, hey, I don't have time for this. Can you please just check this again for
Yeah.
me? I think I've looked at this. Maybe I've overlooked that. Obviously, it's easy, it's an advantage. Then I don't have to pay
Yeah.
them because they are my friends. But I do realize that my background has helped me a lot with running
Yeah.
this business. Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's admirable that you have legal friends, because finding lawyers in Germany, is, especially building a company, is tough. They're there, but finding
Yeah.
them that can specifically understand your case is tough. So I think it's so cool that you have this background in this community of people. And I also like the emphasis on, okay, maybe your background is not one to one with what someone would expect for this,
Hmm.
but all of your experiences accumulate, combined together and accumulated,
Hmm.
actually have proven to be very valuable in this process. And I hope that people
Hmm.
listening to this also can look at their multifaceted background, careers, things that they've done in their life, and realize there's probably a lot that you can take from that. You did not have to go to university for
Hmm.
business or university for law or chemistry to be able to start it. It's get started, you
Yeah.
find the right partners along the way, and
Yeah.
you'd be surprised what you already know.
Hmm.
What happened from the moment you found them until the first product got on the market? How long did that take? How many iterations did you have to go through? Did you initially start off with 6 products on your mind that you wanted to kick off with, and in the end realize maybe it's better to start off with one? What did that look like for you?
I think what I wanted actually just three products,
Mm,
because I was like, I don't believe you need 20 million products. I mean, that's my personal opinion. You don't need 20 million products to take care of your
thank
hair.
you.
I mean, I should be able just to use a shampoo, a conditioner, and at first I just thought the oil. But then I started chatting with a friend. Actually, she's a hairdresser from Noisem. She's like, Nene, leave-in conditioner is also very important. I was like, okay, because this is the thing. I started this business, but I wasn't from the business. So I spoke to as many people as
Mm,
possible who know their way into in the business, who are hairdressers, who have been hairdressers for a long time. So I spoke to her first, and she's like, I know, definitely a leave-in conditioner for starters, you know, because I am also aware people have different curl types and hair types. You there's no one product that fits everybody
Mm-hmm.
else. So you can have different series. But however, I thought for me, for myself, because I still had that problem, I just need a shampoo, conditioner, then a leave-in and an oil. Because the oil I'd found out moringa oil is really good. I definitely wanted to have
Yeah.
that. So when I spoke to my loan hairstylist, so I told her, okay, these are the challenges which I have and a lot of Black people have with their hair, and these are the effects I need. I want to make sure I can get the results without chemicals.
Mm.
So it was really simple. Um, and yeah, I think those were the three
Okay.
requirements. So that's when they said, okay, these are the ingredients which we can recommend. So we started with the first tests, and I think in general everything took almost 2
Oh
years.
wow,
I
that's
think,
long.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
that's very this.
Because of course I'm doing this business not as a full-time business. I think if I was only focusing on it, everything could have been faster. But I'm still employed full-time, so I still have a
Yeah.
family and I still have a life. So I did everything really slowly.
Mm.
So that's why it took so long. I'm sure if that was my only focus, it could have happened faster. But at the same time, getting samples, because they sort of like do small samples in a lab, and then they give you the samples, you distribute them to different people, and then you get feedback from people. No, no, this is not good, or the shampoo is too much, or it's too watery, or it doesn't foam too much, or all this. You get the information, and then you go back to them and say, okay, this is what they said. How can we adjust this? So I think we did four, 4 or 5 times, but
Mm.
at some point, because I remember that's the other thing which I've also learned, done is better than perfect,
Mm.
you know, because I tend to be a perfectionist. I mean, I'm the kind of
Me
person
too.
who would sit hours just to get that thing to work, which, you know, so I remember going to NG and just like, Hloni, you can do this for 10 years, like testing and testing and testing and testing. At the end of the day, the market will tell you.
That's true.
So just get these things out. They are very good already. So just get them out because you will never have one product which fits all the people. So you cannot keep on doing tests and tests and tests, and because it costs money.
Mm.
Every sample you get out, it costs money. Every new development costs a lot of money. So this is why I was like, okay, okay, let's get it done. So, and then afterwards, you still have to go through now the stability tests, the microbiology test of the products, and the upscaling tests. Because just because the consistency is good in a lab, but it doesn't mean it's going to be the same when you produce a lot of things. So that's also another test you have to do. And also, after the products have been produced again, you have to still get them tested that they can withstand the heat, the
Oh
cold.
wow.
But you've already invested, you've already produced them. So that's it's a long process.
Yeah, that goes back to why you really have to love what you're doing because.
That's the thing. I didn't know this
Yeah.
before.
Okay.
So I think if I did, I don't think I would have done
You
it.
don't think
No,
you would
I
have
don't
done
think
it?
so. No, no, definitely not.
Okay. Fair.
Because the requirements in Germany are so strict with the products. It's good at the end that you have, if they're made in Germany, then you know that they've gone through a lot of
Mm-hmm.
tests. That's the one thing you should know about. And on top of that, they have been certified, meaning an outside institution came to my manufacturer. They have to go there, they have to look their processes, they have to look at their
Mm.
systems, they have to look how their logistic processes work, where they have put the raw materials, how have they put them,
Yeah.
So, and they also look at the chain, where the product
Yeah.
sourced. So everything gets double checked, and that's
Yeah.
money as well.
Exactly. And I like that you went out of your way to test, but then I also agree with her. You just have to let the market tell you. But I could also understand why you want to keep on testing and making sure and sampling and trying it. So it's so hard because as a fellow perfectionist, I understand it's like you just want to make the perfect thing. But at
Yeah,
the same time, maybe the world doesn't need the perfect thing right away. And that kind of goes
yeah,
back to a little bit of our initial conversation. Then you had the product. Now you need to get it
yeah,
out there. And that's a whole
You need
different
to get
game because
on that.
it doesn't actually care.
Yeah.
The market, like, how did you put it? The market doesn't care if you have a good product, or how did you say it? It's like,
No, I said it doesn't matter how
oh,
good your product is if you can't sell it. No, nobody knows that it exists, for example.
exactly.
So that's the other thing, because the other thing is, I always say entrepreneurship is personal development,
Mm,
you know, because perfectionism, it's based on me. You know what I mean? That's why when Angie said, you're not making the, of course you're making the product for yourself in the beginning, but you want to sell it to the people. So sometimes your opinion doesn't matter because you have other needs. You just have to go with the big points, like, are they clean? Are they catering for Afro hair in general? You know, you have to go from that, but not to the last point, because it's not about me, you know? I can go around and tell everybody how great my products are,
yeah.
but not everybody's going to say, yeah, they are. And you have to accept that. You have to understand that. And you have to take that as feedback so that maybe the next series will be catering for those people who were not catered for in the first batch, for example.
Yeah,
So
I see.
personal development.
Personal development, yeah. And it's
Yeah,
very true.
yeah.
I can even relate to that now as I'm in the process of soon taking the leap of faith into getting my own thing off the ground. And I was joking with other
Mm-hmm,
people, joking and half mostly serious, that I might need to go back to
mm-hmm.
therapy to learn to cope with the things I'm about to go ahead and face. And it's so true because there's
Yeah,
just things about yourself that you have to unlearn: the perfectionism, the
yeah.
shyness if you're going to a networking event and you realize you have to go talk to a bunch of people,
Oh, yeah.
all of these kind of things where you're like, these are just skills now that you have to learn. There are other things about yourself that you will now need to unlearn. And it's also part of that journey. It's like not only the journey of building the company, but the journey of you, who you are when you started
Yeah.
versus when it's successful, right?
Yeah, I think when you're talking about the shyness, I mean, as growing up, I was extremely shy. I mean, I'm still to some degree shy, but interestingly enough, when it comes to business, I don't care. I just go there and speak to strangers, speak to people. I mean, it's not about me.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you stop getting out of your
Mm,
head and just think about your mission and see how your products are going to help the person you're speaking to. So if you take this angle and say, okay, it's not about me because it's about your ego. I mean, sometimes people say shyness is an ego. You know what I
yeah, you
mean?
don't want to be
It comes from the
embarrassed or
ego.
whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But then if you think about the customer,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll definitely tell them. I mean, if you see somebody who's about to fall, you can, no, you're gonna fall there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not about you. So if you take that angle, is of course I was at first I was making the products for myself, but I've made the products for everybody who would benefit from
Mm,
them actually. So you just go out and tell the people, ask the people, what are you using now? Are you happy with it? Okay, I can offer you an alternative. Okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've
yeah.
done. This is, you know what I mean? You can try it out, because dealing as well with people who are sick and
Yeah.
tired,
Fed
first of
up.
all. People are fed up with all these promises. I was too, you know, all these promises about what products can do for you, and then at the end of the day, especially for Black people, you find out that there are chemicals which are causing
Yeah.
cancer in the products which were sold to you as very good. They'll make you look nice, they'll make your hair manageable. You know, you can go to work looking clean and
Mm-hmm.
polished.
Meanwhile,
Meanwhile, you're paying with your life, basically.
exactly.
So you have to have this in mind when you go and speak to people. And that's the reason also why I certified my products, because it's like, people are sick and tired. I'm also sick and tired of being told how good the
Yeah.
products are. And then a lot of companies who call their products in
Yeah.
German bio. And then I started looking at the Inky and I find maybe there are just two ingredients which are bio, but they can call themselves bio
Yeah.
somehow. But they are even allowed to use this. So I think people should just start questioning things a bit more, have a look at the
Yeah.
ingredients. Yeah,
And I would definitely say it's
just
happening, especially within the Black community. I think we're so tired of being lied to. And we're so tired of getting the short end of the stick when it comes to the quality of products that now we really
mm-hmm.
are looking adamantly for, is there actually a good product, healthy product for me out there? And we are
Yeah.
checking those ingredient lists. I know for myself, anytime I walk into a shop now, I actually do read them because I'm
Mm-hmm.
just not doing it anymore. But I wanted to also continue in the conversation because you did mention that while you were building this, you of course you still have your full-time job, you've got your family and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And I, being a sidepreneur, I would call it, is extremely
Mm-hmm.
challenging. So what was that experience like for you? How did you go about balancing all the various parts and keeping your motivation high as well?
Yeah, I think right from the beginning, I knew I wasn't going to be able to do everything on my
Okay.
own. So what I did, for example, the logistics part, I was like, I don't have time to be packing boxes at night. I mean, how I'm working during the day, and people are expecting to get their things almost immediately
Yeah.
nowadays. So I was like, okay, I'll have a fulfillment do that for me. And when it comes, like, again, to the tax advice, I mean, I really positioned people who I could work with so that I don't have to do
Mm,
most of the things which I shouldn't be doing. So in that case, my business is only online.
mm-hmm.
So I don't have to be going to a store every day, opening up. And so I really built a system which could run in quotation marks without me physically and always being there.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, mentally, you're always thinking about new strategies, the marketing, which is also another very interesting topic. So that's how it went. But I had to be very disciplined,
Okay.
like wake up really early in the morning because I have to prepare my son to go to school and do a lot of things before my work starts. And then in the evenings, when the child has gone to bed, there are days or weeks whereby it's really intense, when I have to deliver
Yeah.
something. But other times, it's everything is running on its
Okay.
own. But of course, I had to invest a lot of time in the beginning, but in like mornings, and especially in the evenings. And that's the advantage with the digital world
Yeah.
nowadays. You write your emails, you plan your Instagram posts, and with that, there was a time when I realized I can't cope, so I got somebody to help me.
Mm,
So I don't have employees. I work with established companies because that's also something I realized very soon, that having employing somebody, you have to teach this
yeah.
person, you have to be responsible for them. I'm a startup. I mean, I can't employ
Mm,
anyone. So I found I put key people who can support me. But I also learned that by having discussions with other startups. Had the luck of meeting a lot of great women who started their own businesses, who are also still
mm-hmm.
working, and they gave me all the tips. I didn't just think about everything. They gave me all the tips. They're like, no, no, this is what I'm doing. This is what you should do. This is what you should be aware of. Even the fulfillment, I didn't even know what a fulfillment is in the
Yeah.
beginning, and they're like, no, no, you have to speak to this one, you have to do this, you have to do that. So this is why I'm saying education is important, of course, but even if you don't, if you just are open enough
Mm-hmm.
to speak to people, and this person might know somebody else, and that somebody else, that's how I met all the people
Yeah.
who I'm working with, through talking to people and getting tips, and be willing to ask for help and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
here, so can you please help me? I wasn't used to asking for
Yeah.
help because I'm always the kind of person who want to do everything by myself. This business taught me differently: ask for help.
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot because I'm
Yeah,
the same way. It's like I can do it. I could do a lot, and to an extent, I can. I do believe I could do a lot, but there does come to a point where there's probably someone better to do it than me. And thinking
exactly.
about it that way, and you just gave me a bit of an aha moment. I've never thought about actually just working together with already established entities, which just makes a lot more sense because working with an employee is really tough. And I actually do agree it's tough from the perspective of you're responsible for them, and
Hmm.
in some cases you also have to teach them, and the time it
Exactly.
takes to teach them sometimes, and especially when you're also not an expert on it,
Hmm?
it's a bit rough.
Yeah,
And then it's not fun for either party, and it's very easy also for that employee to lose motivation. So you just gave me something to think about that I'm going to need to think about how I apply after this conversation as well.
You get into entrepreneurship looking at people who are 20 years perhaps ahead of you. That's I think that's a mistake we often do. We see, so and so has done it. Maybe they've that even 5 years experience is a lot, because I mean I'm looking back, all my products came online beginning of April, all of them. And the experience I've gained this year, this time, it's unbelievable. But sometimes we tend to look at those people who have made it, and not looking at what they had to go through
And I
before
think the
that,
challenge, though, of those people who made it, though, is they often have a survival bias where I think they forget a lot of the hard stuff that they went through in the process. So when you talk to them, they're like, oh, just do that. It's that simple. But in actuality, it's not. So maybe I throw the question to you. What was the most shocking reality, or something that you just expected to be easy that was harder than you expected, or something that was you expected to be hard but was easier than you expected? Either direction.
I think the one thing which I don't know whether I underestimated it, or whether it was never in. I never had to sell anything. I mean, in my previous job, as a lawyer, you don't sell. You don't need to sell anything per se. If you're working for a company, and the marketing, I mean, you see a lot of ads on Instagram. You're like, oh yeah, I mean, that's simple, but you don't know what is behind that. And you see an ad on Google, and you don't think about how to create that ad. I mean, until I had to do it, I thought, wow, this is a beast, really. Yeah. And understanding the algorithm. And also, it's just one of the two things which really took me out of my comfort zone, because, you get so many offers from a lot of marketing agents. I can make your Shopify to convert, or you can make so many sales with my system, with my process. And then you listen to these people, but at the end of the day, most of them it's just talk, because sometimes you wonder, like, no, I don't need you to tell me this strategy. I need you to show me, what do I click so I can get that result? How do I do the settings? What is happening behind? Because maybe I'm just asking too many questions, perhaps, because I'm the kind of person who wants to understand what exactly am I doing. So I had to learn that on my own, because the one thing you should know, if you're paying a marketing agency, you pay for their services, and on top you still have to pay Facebook and Google for the ads themselves, and they're very expensive. So sometimes you think, oh, I've paid so much money, and there are people who are doing that for me, but I'm still not there where I expected to be. As a startup, you can't afford this extremely expensive marketing agencies. Like, most of them charge already like 5,000. Those are the affordable ones. I mean, they start with 10. I've spoken to some. They're like, no, you should be willing to at least pay 10,000 euros per month. And I'm like, oh, actually, I thought you were really good. Yeah, because I'm so good. But you need those kind of people. But as a startup, you can't afford that, So this means you have to learn that on your own.
Yeah.
And then you start, and then you so how I do it, I start, and then you look at the YouTube videos, and then you go back again and do something like that. And then now I use ChatGPT, because
I know, because I do it too.
I was putting codes into my Google, because it was saying your tag manager is not working. I was like, what is a tag manager? And you ask ChatGPT, and Google shows you have to copy this code and put it into the head of your Shopify. What head? So what I do, screenshot what Google told me, fed it to ChatGPT. What does it mean?
Oh, that's so funny.
Serious, that's what I did. That's what I did. And thank God, ChatGPT knows what Google wants. It explains to me easily. So you press here and press that, and do that and do that. And then I did it.
Thank God for ChatGPT.
It worked.
I'm sure it did.
It worked. It worked. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you're bringing this up because I had this conversation about a week ago with two entrepreneurs who had hired external marketing agencies, early stage, very early stage, like
Mm-hmm.
you are. And they said they did give them like 5, 10,000 euros, but at the end of it, the results were not really that great. And then
Mm-hmm.
they said, okay, let's try to use that same money, but we try it ourselves. And of course, the learning curve was very painful for them too. They also had you had to go to Google to ask ChatGPT, and then you had to learn it. But what they said was so beneficial about that process is that now they truly understand what works very well for their business, and also they know what their business's mission is. And as a
Yeah.
result of that, even if they hire an external agency in the future, they can already tell them exactly what it is, because what they figured out from the agencies was the agencies were also trial error figuring these things out in the beginning too, because they didn't know what
Mm-hmm.
messaging and whatever else works.
Exactly.
So, to an
Yeah.
extent, you can save that money, go through the painful growth on your own, and then later on you can get those people once it's working really well. So, it's
Yeah,
interesting.
I think it's the motivation
Yeah.
as well when
Oh,
something
yeah.
works. You know
Oh,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like when those ads start, you're like, oh my God, it's
Yeah.
working. Oh my God, people are seeing my ads, you know? So it's sort of like a motivation to keep going
Yeah.
on to say, you know what, you've got
That's
this.
true.
It was tough, but you can do this. Sort of like have a triumph
Yeah.
um afterwards. And it's a good feeling. And you know, next time when somebody, because they do, you get emails, somebody tries to sell you something. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I can hear what you're saying, but I don't think you can offer me that. I think now I know more than you
Yeah.
do at the moment. You can't tell me you're selling me a strategy. I don't need this strategy.
Exactly.
I just need somebody to actually set up the ads,
Mm-hmm.
use the right audience, you know, all the technical
Yeah.
stuff. I don't need the strategies. I know I have my strategies. It's just the
Implementation.
implementation, but a lot of them can't
Yeah,
do that.
because there's a lot of really good talkers, but I like the
Yeah.
point that you said with the way it feels. I know that for me as well. There is nothing like that feeling when you have finally cracked it. The way you can feel the dopamine being released in your body. You just know
Yeah.
I don't know how to, it's so
Definitely.
good. So that's also leading to the roundup of this conversation. You're moving forward and you're having a lot of these wins. And so my question is, what is your biggest aspiration for Zamata in the next couple of years? And what would it look like to you in about 5 years? What are you hoping to achieve?
Um, I would like to see Zamata grow, you know, to be a brand which people identify with, especially Black people and people with curls, Afro
Yeah.
hair. I want to stay true to my mission, still offer people clean, organic hair products because it is possible. Because sometimes we always think, no, it's too stressful. It is tough. I'm not going to deny that. It's extremely tough. However, I think once the people do get the products and use them, they are going to love them. And I want to see really Zamata growing, that it's not just a German brand.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a European and who knows, a worldwide brand perhaps someday in the
Mm-hmm.
future. Because I think the time has come for us to start creating businesses which cater for
Yeah,
us,
that's very true.
because we are the only ones who know our pain,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to find solutions for that. And that's what I'm trying to do with Zamata. And the other thing, which is also my mission, is to empower people to say, Afro hair is beautiful. I mean, there's a reason why we have Afro hair. You have to embrace it, you know, take care of it. Don't try and change it. Of course, we have the advantage that our hair is very versatile. You can have different hairstyles, but do that with love and acceptance instead of like with hate. Because I think some people really hate their hair because of this beauty standards. I'm not going to deny that it's not so easy dealing with all the curls and the knots which you get, but you can untangle those knots with love because it's part of who you
Yeah.
are. And that way, I think we can push the mission of accepting Afro hair and embracing the products for Afro hair. So it's not just about the product's point of view, but it's also about the acceptance of Afro hair. Because even in the business world, there's still a lot of people who feel they have to have straight hair. I had the same when I moved here. I'm not going to deny that because I didn't know the culture here. And having grown up in South Africa, I've stayed in South Africa for a long time. There you have a lot of Black people. It's normal to go to work with Afro hair. And then you move to Germany and you're often the only Black person in the building. And you want to fit in. And you look around you, everybody has straight hair. But it's personal. But it's only when I said, when I'm the only Black person, so I have to be as Black as I can. I mean, I'm just going to go with my Afro hair. And people loved it. And I was like, oh, okay. So we also have to realize that when you're being true to yourself, that's only when you can be able to show up at work and perform better because you're not worried about your hair or how you look. So that's what happened to me because, of course, the scratching of my scalp at work was very embarrassing. Like you're the only Black person there, and they think because we always feel like we represent.
That's
everyone,
true.
Like when you're the only one, you're like, oh, I don't want them to think that Black people have
our heads are always
like
itchy or something.
Hair. Always itchy, and then you like you're at work, you serious business meeting, contract negotiations, then you're busy scratching your hair because it's itchy, So this is why I was like, hell no, I'm just gonna let my hair to be as natural as possible. I'm gonna find the products which are going to help me maintain my hair, and I couldn't find any, so I created them. So that's so I don't have to scratch my hair anymore.
I see Zamata with the possibility of being a global company, and I do see a world where Afro hair is truly going to be embraced. I see our community getting stronger and stronger, more confident in ourselves. So I really do believe it's just a matter of time until that happens, and I'm so glad that you're working on this. It's nice that we're getting more products like yours there, so we have options and variety, and I'm really glad that you did start this journey, even though it was a lot more than you expected it to be, but I'm glad that you did.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, looking back, I don't think, honestly, if somebody would have told me that I'd go through all this that I went through, I don't think I would have started
and that's why ignorance is bliss.
It definitely is. I mean, in my case, it was. But at the same time, I still really encourage more people, if you feel that it's something you want to do, just go for it. You will learn. You will be a better person afterwards. Definitely. You will grow in ways which you never thought were even possible. It is tough, of course. We glorify entrepreneurship. Honestly, it's nothing to glorify. It is tough. However, it's the one thing where you can actually just challenge yourself and see what you're capable of. I think that's the best reward, like you can have in life, and say, you know what, I tried that and I know I can do that, or I know I can survive that, because you build a lot of resilience, which also helps you in your normal life. But the most important thing, I think, is not to forget to take care of yourself, because sometimes we tend to just focus too much on work. I think just try and have a balance, in quotation marks, because in general, I don't believe there's a balance in the way that we see it. But I'd still encourage people to go for their dreams and try it out. At least try it out.
100%. Well, there you have it, folks. Go for your dreams. And with the new year just around the corner, take a bet on yourself and just try it out. Hloni, thank you so much for this advice, your openness, and this candid conversation. To all of you listening, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, it would really, really mean the world to me if you would like, follow, and or subscribe to On the Up and Up on your favorite podcast streaming and social media channels. Also, if you think someone else can benefit from this episode, please do share it with them. And as always, onwards and upwards, y'all, and I'll speak to you soon.